How y'all doing, everybody? Happy Sunday. Deeksy here with a little video as the Canadiens return to work, if you will, after the All-Star weekend, after the bye week, where the Canadiens got some good rest, I'm sure. And a few things we're going to talk about very quickly in this video today. The post-Shawn Monahan era begins in Montreal, which I know he played less than 82 games with the Canadiens and didn't even get a full season under his belt, but regardless, he made quite the impact in his short time with the Montreal Canadiens. We're going to talk about him. Going to talk about the Canadiens signing Brandon Gignac to a two-year contract extension, a two-way two-year contract extension for Brandon Gignac with the Laval Rocket and the Montreal Canadiens, and also at the same time receiving a call-up, his first call-up to the Montreal Canadiens. And also Alex Newhook was a full participant in practice today with the Canadiens for the first time since his since his injury, and his last game was played on November 30th against the Florida Panthers. So Shawn Monahan. Well, let's take a look just for fun to see who Shawn Monahan's practicing with today, because you know what? We're all a little bit curious about it anyway. I mean, look at this lineup here. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Velarde on the top pair for the Winnipeg Jets. And then you got Ehlers, Monahan, and Perfetti on your second line. Not a bad little position to have Shawn Monahan in. He's currently slotted in, according to the practice roster, as the second line center for the Winnipeg Jets. And then their third line, Adam Lowry is your third line center, and then Namestnikov as your fourth line center. So the depth on center has been shored up by the Winnipeg Jets, adding Shawn Monahan in. And if you actually look at the power play unit that Shawn Monahan was working on, it doesn't sound too bad either, with Velarde, Scheifele, Monahan, Connor, and Morrissey looking like your top line power play for the Winnipeg Jets, where it's instantly going to receive a boost from Shawn Monahan being there. So we love you, Winnipeg, and we hate you at the same time. So congrats on your Stanley Cup, and thank you also for the third-round pick, conditional pick in 2027. Thank you. So with that in mind, I'm cheering for the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says. I'm also going to cheer for Vancouver a little bit. Any Canadian team, basically, except the ones in blue, just an hour away from me. Anyways, so in addition to this news, Brandon Gignac playing with the Montreal Canadiens Tuesday in Washington, going to make his not NHL debut, because he actually already has played in one NHL game so far in his career with the New Jersey Devils, who actually did draft him in the third round of in the 2016 NHL draft, in the third round at 80th overall. And Gignac is 26 years old, going to be turning 27 this year. And with the Laval Rocket this season, he currently leads the Laval Rocket in points by 10 points, actually. It's him and Joshua Waugh, the top 2 point producers for the Rocket right now. And so far in 43 games this season, Gignac has 14 goals, 28 assists, good for 42 points in those 43 games, 1 point shy of being a point per game player for the Laval Rocket so far this season. So good for Gignac. And you know what? Marty St. Louis had some pretty complimentary words for Gignac in the post-practice press conference today. So he said that, he noticed Gignac's training camp. He actually did notice how hard he worked. And, Marty St. Louis was saying how there's guys that have a lot of skill that don't have as long of a career as guys who just simply work harder and end up having longer careers in the NHL. Now, Gignac hasn't had much of an NHL career at all, because he's only played in one game so far, right? But we'll see what he does here. And this really why I wanted to talk about this a little bit is because the Canadiens really at this point are at basically the exact same position they were in last year, right? So we had Raphael Harvey-Pinard called up. We had Alex Belzile called up from the Laval Rocket, among others. And the Laval Rocket were basically forming one half of the Canadiens roster for the last half of the season, right? So it does seem that the Canadiens now have a better chance to select for sure in the top 10 in this year's NHL entry draft. But more importantly, more excitingly would be if they can draft in the top 5 again, and hopefully draft another forward. We'll talk about the actual players themselves as the draft draws closer, and as the trade deadline draws closer, and as the results continue not to be so hot for the Canadiens the rest of the way, which we don't expect, right? So, yeah. So there you have it. But the Canadiens are going to do what they can to stay, as competitive as possible for their own sake. They know the playoffs. Internally, I'm sure they know the playoffs are, basically out of sight. That doesn't mean they're going to stop competing, though. You've got Arbor Jack guy with the Canadiens here again. Let's see how he can, have a better second half with the Canadiens. He's probably going to stay with them for maybe the rest of the way, unless for some reason they feel like it's valuable to send him down to Laval for a playoff run. But we also hear rumblings from, Grant McKegg as somebody who feels like David Reinbacher may get, shipped over here from Switzerland to play with the Laval Rocket for a good chunk of the remainder of the season. And then also the Canadiens are expected to sign Lane Hudson at the end of his university season in Boston. So there's a lot of moving parts towards the end of the season and some interesting prospects to watch as the Canadiens continue to fall in the standings, most likely sitting 26th overall right now. And last year, they weren't really able to finish worse than 26th overall, whereas right now, there's a good chance they could finish 27th or worst in the standings, depending on how Ottawa climbs up or Columbus, for example. But at this point, we'll see what the remainder of the season looks like for the Canadiens, but it is good to see Alex Newhook getting healthy. He won't be back necessarily against Washington quite yet, but could be back within the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks at the most. I don't think it'll be 2 weeks, but he's participating in his first full practice, so that's an encouraging sign. So he'll likely become the second line center, replacing Jake Evans as our second line center. So really at this point, and I didn't even mention it, Lucas Kandata got recalled as well from Laval. So your centers are Nick Suzuki, Jake Evans, Kandata, and now Brandon Gignac. So Gignac is going to maybe center the third or fourth line. I'd like to see him more on the third line, I think, because frankly, he's got more offensive upside, as we know. And that's where we probably will likely see him. Kandata didn't really seem to get a lot of minutes when he had his first call up at the Canadiens, and will likely center the fourth line. So I'd like to see what Brandon Gignac's got. I know he's excited for the opportunity. He's really happy about the contract extension here. So it's always nice to see that next man up mentality coming through and guys are getting an opportunity. He's never played a game in the NHL with the Canadiens. So this is going to be at least interesting enough to see what he can do with the Canadiens now with a much more depleted lineup, with Brendan Gallagher still out for suspension for 4 more games. So let's see what they got. Let's see what they got. Let's see how the trade rumors sort of swirl for the next month now before the deadline on March the 8th. All right, let's go. Let's talk about some stuff. So leave your comment down below, guys. Let me know how you're feeling about the remainder of the Canadian season. It's not going to be all that encouraging results-wise. We know they're not going to win a lot more games this season, but we do want them to get a top 5 pick and let this be the last tanking season of this rebuild, right? Am I right? I know I'm right. Thank you. All right, we'll see you guys very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Ciao for now.